Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. Don't forget to subscribe. And it is Sunday, and we are kind of doing breaches of the week because last week I did the top breaches of 2024. This week I want to talk about what I think is going to be the biggest breach issue of 2025. So thanks for tuning in. But here we are. It's going to be a new year, and with that, let's dive in, because I think that the biggest breach issue of the new year, soon to be new year, is going to be third-party data breaches. Now, if we're looking at 2024 as a bellwether and earlier, I've got two different sources for you that I want to talk about. The first one is me. If you are a longtime listener and follower, you know week after week after week, it's a labor of love at this point, that I do every Sunday a Breaches of the Week video. And with a few exceptions, it is incredibly consistent. And by virtue of that, I am reviewing data breaches every single week. It takes hours for me to compile this information. I get a lot of info from people that send me stuff. It always helps me out, and I always give them a shout out here. But if I'm looking through those just by myself, and that would be a longitudinal study that I could do, I constantly see supply chain breaches, third-party data breaches that are getting organizations in trouble. In other words, I didn't get breached, but I outsourced my HR, I outsourced my payroll, I outsourced something. I'm using a third-party cloud provider, and one of these people or entities got hit, and by virtue of that, I now have to declare a data breach. So with that, there has been a study out of Europe that Tech Radar wrote on. And so let's look at 2024 as that bellwether, because I personally think this is our biggest issue and it's going to get worse. And interestingly enough, not all verticals have the same challenges with this. And so with that, third-party data breaches have emerged as one of the biggest threats to cybersecurity for organizations in the EU. This is the study that Tech Radar was essentially reporting on, and this new research from Security Scorecard, basically they created a report and took Europe's top 100 companies and analyzed factors such as network security, malware infections, endpoint security, patching cadence, meaning how frequently are they updating everything to fix vulnerabilities, application security, DNS health, and more. They basically found, Security Scorecard found that virtually all European countries of the top 100, 98 out of 100, 98%, had experienced a third-party data breach in 2024, meaning that essentially almost every organization had a partner company, again, they're outsourcing it to something, that got them exposed. Now, although Security Scorecard didn't discuss it, it is also safe to assume that some of these organizations suffered some kind of operational disruptions due to these breaches, specifically since just quote-unquote 18% of companies reported direct breaches in the past year of those companies that they were researching. But yes, this is operational disruption. Your payroll system gets hit, you might not make payroll. It's a huge issue. I've actually had that in incident response before, for what became a new customer. So looking at individual verticals, Security Scorecard says that transportation was the most secure sectors, with basically no companies with low scores. Now, on the other end of the spectrum is the energy industry. 75% of organizations scored a C or lower, A being obviously the best, F being a fail, right? And here we are. So you're looking at an enormous difference between transportation and energy. Energy obviously would be a very lucrative target, especially for adversaries. You shut down energy, you're basically making everybody deaf and blind. On top of this, 25% of them reported experience direct data breaches, and here we are. So this is constantly going to be an issue. Now, in the EU sense of it, Scandinavian, British, and German firms were reported as the most secure. France had basically the highest rate of third and fourth party vendor breaches, 98 and 100% respectively. So there you go. It also varies by company, also our country as well. Also understand that the United States, where I'm sitting at, and probably most of my listeners are sitting at, is essentially the number one target on the planet for cyber attacks. And so by virtue of that, what I noticed through my own research was the number one that I saw here was healthcare, followed by financial. Energy was definitely up there as well, but I can't tell you how many data breaches year after year, month after month, have literally been either a small doctor's office, a local regional hospital, or a massive hospital chain. In fact, when I talked about the top 10 data breaches on the entire planet last week, about 3 or 4 of those were just U.S. healthcare data breaches. Change Healthcare, I believe it was Common Spirit, and another one. So this is a massive problem no matter what. On top of it, our cloud providers are constantly under attack as well. So this isn't, for the record, the long, here's every single breach for this week. That will resume basically next Sunday, the first Sunday of the new year. But I wanted to go through this because, quite frankly, what this really underscores is that what we are not doing, especially if you are listening to this in a business capacity, is really doing that supply chain due diligence that you need. Everybody should be doing supply chain due diligence. I don't care how small or how large you are. And the smaller companies tend to get hit by the larger companies with a questionnaire. Here's 200 questions. Go fill this out to the best of your ability so that we know you are secure and you are basically attesting that you are. And if you lie to us, we're going to sue you. That is where we're at with this. Not to mention cyber insurance will continue to grow in 2025, but that's a different topic. So this is a problem. So I don't care if you're a small organization or a large organization, you should be doing your supply chain due diligence. Do your providers have certifications? Do they have security controls? Will they attest to security controls, basically, essentially in an affidavit, meaning if they lie to you, you've got legal recourse. These are things you should be investigating. I do not pick any vendor, for my company that I've not thoroughly vetted, that doesn't have, let's say, things like FedRAMP authorization, so I know that they are drinking the security Kool-Aid. Some other certifications like SOC 2 Type 2 at this point I consider just low-hanging fruit because they're pretty straightforward to get, but they need to have something, whether it's SOC 2, ISO, FedRAMP, CMMC, take your pick. There's a lot of certifications out there that these companies should be working towards or at least aligning with and attesting to say, we don't have necessarily the certification, but we are drinking that Kool-Aid and we are 80% into this or even 95% into this, whatever it is. They should be able to attest to that. So make sure you're doing that due diligence. This is going to be the biggest problem by far, and I would put money on it that my breaches of the week will prove that throughout 2025, and hopefully I'm not going to be saying the same thing for 2026, but here we are. We're going to see what happens, but that, I think, is going to be the biggest issue that we have in data breaches for 2025, and I don't think I'm wrong. And please and Happy New Year, for the record as well. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private. Thanks, everybody.